Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, now in our 5th season, looking into the exciting happenings of Ipswich Town Football Club. My name is Benjamin Bloom and you are tuned into the mid-week show, available each and every week, well, most weeks after a game, hey, in League One, on video and audio. So, for a sometimes irreverent but always informative hour or more of football conversation. Make your Monday a Blue Monday. Make your midweek a Blue midweek. David Diamond, you don't like squad rotation and you're back unchanged.
Yeah, I know. I thought it's quite odd for me because obviously, and in a new formation as well. I think first time I've been on. First time I met Craig. First time I've been on with Craig. So me and you, obviously old stages, but a new formation for the pod, especially for the midweek pod.
Do you remember what Graham Taylor said about Roy Keane? I worried when he started to grow that beard. I worried. Craig, you're sporting a lovely beard today.
You are, mate.
Yeah. It's a New Year's resolution, much to the chagrin of my other half.
Oh, she doesn't like it?
Nope.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
so, what the resolution is just not to shave?
So it's now become a dirty protest on my behalf.
Naughty. Someone who didn't need to make a dirty protest because he's got his move. Dave, we talked about this last time, so we'll go to Craig on this. The Bart deal, I think, went through on Monday. Apparently, Craig, less than the £900,000 that was bid in the summer. Give me your thoughts on how this has played out and that fee.
Well, I'd imagine it's played out exactly how Millwall wanted it to play out, to be perfectly honest. If you, I think Phil on Those Are the Days mentioned that it was a lot less than the originally arranged fee, which was probably a lot less than we should have got in the first instance, and even suggested that the short window of opportunity in January where we could have sold him on was also Millwall's request. So they really had us over a barrel by all accounts last summer, and have pretty much done exactly the deal that they wanted to do. Got arguably our best player for £500,000 plus a few add-ons. They've got themselves a very tidy goalkeeper in the Championship for next to nothing. From our perspective, I appreciate we didn't want wages hanging around our neck and bits and pieces like that going up, and you don't want your highest paid player being a goalkeeper. But yeah, it's a bit of a kick in the rocks, I think.
I think, to cue a South London phrase, we've been mugged right off.
Well, I was going to ask you that, Dave. There's a very famous interview in 90s wrestling that I'm going to quote where they asked Vince McMahon, "Did you screw Brett?" And he goes, "Brett screwed Brett." Have Ipswich just screwed themselves here with the timing of the deal? And
it's so us, isn't it? It's so Ipswich, really. You couldn't make it up, really. I mean, the whole dodgy medical thing in the summer when reportedly, Craig's right, we'd got agreed a fee of 900,000, which I agree with Craig. Okay, you can't put last season to one side, but he was worth more than that. And then for what he's gone now is just played right into their hands. I mean, the thing that aggravated me was the thing we spoke on the pod a few weeks ago about this clause that when it got past on a certain date in
8th of Jan.
8th of Jan. He had to go back, he was Millwall's player for the season. Oh, what? Oh, you couldn't make it up. You really couldn't. But it's so typical Ipswich, isn't it?
And the thing is, it sort of just, it goes back to when we signed him on his extended contract. It went wrong from there, basically, didn't it? As soon as we signed him on his extended contract, his form went downhill for various reasons.
We're quite good at that. I remember
some of us said at the time that money maybe should have gone Mr. Waghorn's way. Some of us said at the time, and with hindsight,
to be fair, I don't think we were in such a healthy position goalkeeper wise then, were we? Although some would say Gherkin wasn't that far, but I never really rated Gherkin anywhere near as high as I rated Bart. But
Gherkin's gone off to Colchester, and Bart's playing top 10 Championship. So there
you go.
The proof is in the pudding. And the proof is in the pudding, Dave, for Paul Hurst and Deputy Doig, who are once again out of work. So they went off to lovely Scunthorpe in League 2. 38 games this time instead of 14. They're leaving the pyramid this time, 16th in League Two.
Yeah.
Dave,
Yeah.
where does this lead them? Is there a way back, or were some of the tougher Ipswich fans right that they're just very bad management team?
I don't think it's a bad management team. I mean, I think with Ipswich, it was. I got to say it first time tonight. A bit of both. Was it man management? We all remember what happened after the burying of the players after that Exeter game in the League Cup last season. And from what we understand, it was sort of Doig was certainly not liked certainly not by the Ipswich players. I don't think so. And reading between the lines, I mean, his record's not horrific, is it? It's like, well, they got I made a note, 112, drew 10, lost 16. All right, no winning 5 at the moment. But I mean, they had a terrible start. I mean, I can't remember them winning for the first half a dozen or even more games. So he seemed to have righted that. I think it was even mentioned somewhere, not on the pod. I didn't hear, but on TWTD that someone mentioned that. Oh, were we a bit, we're a bit soon here. He's just strung, I don't know, 6 winning games on the trot. Something like that. But yeah, obviously something's gone wrong, and it seems maybe it's gone wrong behind the scenes as well. So yeah, this is another big blot on his otherwise quite decent CV before he came to Ipswich.
Craig, he obviously interviews well, doesn't he? To get through the Evans mission. Can you see him getting back in, or is he done for now?
Well, I suppose it depends what comes out in the wash, doesn't it, in terms of why, the reasons behind why they left. I think it's still a bit murky at the moment as to whether it was their choice or the club's choice, or as Dave says, a bit of both. But yeah, he's got a funny CV now, hasn't he? Who's going to hire? Which club in which scenario is now going to hire him?
It'd be funny. He almost needs to start again, like he did. I think he started with Grimsby, didn't he, in the conference? I think just about. So he probably needs to start again almost.
But there'll always be someone who'll look and say, well, he got up to Ipswich. That's a good job. And there's some, like they do, like
cheap option.
Like sorry
cheap
to mention them, but like Norwich did with Buendia or whatever. Well, there was obviously something there, and can we get it back out of them? So maybe someone will. But
I think Bennett, he was a cheap option. I think at the time.
Fair. Someone who's going to be less of a cheap option now, Craig, is Caden Jackson, who is going to be signing a new deal. He's good age, 25. I think surprised most people. Obviously, I think we'd all agree that the deal is deserved. Where do you see him going forward in the scenario we don't go up, the scenario where we do go up? And is his value now higher than the 1.6 million we paid for him?
Well, he's now got a solid League One season behind. Well, half a season behind him, hasn't he? Now, he's scored upwards of 10 goals. He's got 6-7 assists. He's got pace to burn. He was starting to get a decent understanding and partnership with Norwood, wasn't he? Until Keane came back to fitness and started muddying the waters a little bit in that respect. So I've got no issue with it. His contract actually was running out not this summer, but next summer, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. So
with another option, with the standard year option. I think.
Yeah. So we need to do something sooner rather than later, didn't we? And he probably has been one of our more consistent players this year. So yeah, if it either fends off interest or puts his price up, which I imagine be, well, as we were talking about Bart, who knows, but you would imagine we'd be asking for a bit more than what we paid for if someone were to come in and Championship clubs were sniffing around and wanted a decent, direct, pacey player who can play wide if he needs to play through the middle.
It's a good age as well, isn't it?
Dave, is he ready for the Championship?
I think this, as Craig said, this half season he's done well and would have stood him in good stead. Difficult to judge him on last season. Really, he was in and out of the team. I think he scored, I don't know, well, who did score 4 or 5 goals or something like that. At times he looked really good, but at times he looked lost last season. I think this season he's made a really good start. First half of the season will obviously given him confidence. He scored a few goals. He's got a few assists. Yeah, pretty decent understanding with Norwood. Is he up to? Yeah, you'd think he perhaps would be. So I wouldn't be surprised if heaven forbid we didn't get where we hope we will get to. Wouldn't be surprised if a lower reached Championship side came in for him.
Yeah, Birmingham.
He's still raw, isn't he? He's still raw, but
he is. But I think
he can be polished.
I think he can, and you're right. He's got pace to burn, which is obviously a key with him. He just needs his first touch. I think's come on a bit. He doesn't strike me. Sometimes he just makes poor decisions, but look, that comes with experience. And
I still think it'd be best if he went to a championship team with a number 10 behind him. Do you know what I mean? I still think that would be the best thing rather than someone to constantly where he just had to run up like Philip Cocu plays for Derby, where he just has to run off the shoulder, and there you go. Rooney could play him through, but hey, we don't want to sell, do we? Dave, you had a bit of a Dave Stradamus on the last pod because we talked about the Ipswich ladies team. And you said, cool, imagine they draw Man City. So actually, first thing we should say is we recorded before they won 4-1 at Huddersfield. And lo and behold, you said draw Man City at home. They've drawn.
Yeah, I did.
They've drawn Man City away in the
Incredible.
next round. I'll hold my hands up. I'm not, I do a lot of championship stuff. I do a lot of this. I'm not as invested as other people are, but I'm an Ipswich fan. It's got the name Ipswich Town on it, so obviously I'm a follower. What does this do for the profile, Dave?
I think it's good. I think for the latest edition, and again, someone out there will correct me, of the Women's FA Cup. I think they're the first. I think I saw this. The first team from the 4th tier to reach wherever they are, quarterfinals. It was at last 6. Sorry, I should know that. But yeah, so I think they've done really well. I mean, obviously, Man City away is a different, obviously, kettle of fish. I mean, I think they must have. Well, I know they've got the. Do you remember was it Ellen White who scored the goals in the World Cup and gave it all that? Well, she certainly plays up front for them. And I'd assume, again, I should have done a little bit of research here. They must have 3, 4, 5 players that are in England's World Cup squad, for Christ's sake, that got to the semis. So yeah, it's going to be a tough choice. What was slightly disappointing was I heard the manager speak afterwards, and I think someone from Radio Suffolk, maybe Brenner or someone, or maybe GMAC, said to him, do you think had the draw been this way round, would you have got to play at Portland Road? He said categorically no, it wouldn't have been available. I suppose wear and tear and stuff like that. So they'd probably packed out Felixstowe Town's ground. But yeah, what great profile for the football club, and certainly Ipswich ladies, unbelievable really. And a 16-year-old girl scored a hat trick, didn't she? 16, for God's sake, brilliant.
Craig, you're going to get the gnarly gender politics question, I'm afraid, because I've just found Twitter a little bit negative, where this should kind of be a positive. And you have, as normal, you have the extremes of sides. You have people accusing people who aren't interested of, dare I say, sexism. Then you have the hipsters on the other side saying everybody should be. Why does it get muddy and argumentative, this women's football issue on Twitter? I don't get it, Craig. It's just can't people celebrate a win without arguing about how interested you should be, and if you're not, are you a raging sexist or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just hangover, isn't it, from years gone by? I think it's just loitering around still, isn't it? But for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Going any further than that.
I mean,
he's giving that one a straight bet, Dave.
Yeah, you have to. I'm glad. I was going to say, glad he asked Craig that. Yeah. Good luck to them, and yeah. I think I'm interested enough. I think I saw Stat post something or someone that next time perhaps they play here, if I got the chance, I might go and give them a watch. Obviously,
there you go. And that's the thing with
the thing, isn't it?
The profile,
yeah, exactly. And I watched the highlights actually of the Huddersfield game. Yeah, really good. As Dave says, lovely hat trick. Couple of mistakes by the goalkeeper on their side, but lovely hat trick. Our goalkeeper played well as well. They showed a few really good, decent saves. Not to be patronising at all, but it just looked a decent footballing outfit. So you'd go and enjoy a game of football if you were to go and watch them. I mean,
obviously, what I do know, reading between the lines, I think there's obviously they're being run on a much more professional basis these days. There is a much more seems to be closer affiliation with the actual football club itself.
Dave, in my chats with Kieran Maguire, it's good money you can spend on women's football, and it doesn't count towards the FFP. So Dave, you know everything about moving money around and taxing your business things. There is actually benefits.
Trying to say?
No. In obviously in a in the right
Yeah, no,
right
I
way.
know.
Marcus Evans is accountant.
There you go. There are benefits, Craig, into actually putting money into the women's side of it because it's good money that can be written off against other stuff. Was all I was saying.
Sadly, I don't think they'll be playing at the Etihad. But I think obviously I think Man City have got an academy stadium, haven't they? No doubt. I'm sure that. Well, I know they have.
Yeah, Joe said that, didn't he? Yeah.
I think they're scheduled to play there. What a great experience for them. Brilliant.
Superb. Are you ready to go to Rotherham? That's the best. So Dave, Craig and I have had a little off-air spread bet on when we're going to get the first
Crap.
Oh, okay. Did you have 0.01 seconds?
The clock hadn't started yet.
I know there'll be plenty more. Don't worry, there'll be plenty more opportunity for it. Don't worry. Oh my goodness.
The podcast over the years has managed to be fairly balanced and fairly neutral, and we don't go off a cliff with a defeat, and we even with 5 straight wins at the front of the 17-18 season, was it, under Mick, we didn't go crazy, maybe a little bit, I don't know, but I'm going to put it over to these two guys, and if they feel they want to bury this performance because it wasn't very good, then we're going to try and do this from a very sort of balanced point of view. So it was first versus second. Rotherham, remember, had that defeat at the weekend against Posh, didn't they? But prior to that, it was 4 wins on the bounce.
5, I think.
Obviously, 5 before. Sorry, I've only got the last 6 games up, Dave. Obviously, we mentioned the quite comfortable win Rotherham had at Portman Road, and run-ins before we've had with Paul Warne and Rotherham per se. So all set up nicely. We mentioned on the pod many times over the last 10, now maybe 15 years, Ipswich's record in important games, big games, games where the stadium's full, and games on TV, games against top table teams. Don't seem to go too well, and sadly, this was no exception. We're gonna be going over a 1-0 defeat, as I'm sure you all know. So let's go over these teams, and it's unchanged again, chaps. So I'll just rattle through this. Norris in goal, Chambers, Wilson, Wolfenden centre halves, Edwards, Garbutt, wing backs, Hughes, Downs, central, Judge 10, Jackson and Keane. With the benefit of hindsight, Craig, after asking him to keep unchanged teams, were you pleased that it was unchanged, or and you're allowed to use hindsight, tactically or strategically in terms of player fitness? Would there have been, playing against a team that's good in the air, anything you might have done?
I said at the time, to be honest, so this isn't hindsight, I wouldn't have had Keane in the team to start with. I'd have had Norwood up front just to give us a presence up there, more than Keane would. But that was before knowing how we were going to end up playing, to be fair. So no, we're after consistency. We got consistency. If they think that people like Hughes can manage, he's currently playing, Saturday, Tuesday, and he's doing it well up to 7:45 yesterday. Then I'd say the only change I would have potentially made would have been Norwood up front for Keane.
Ariel's 50 plays 38. Just a little quick one in there. Dave, you mentioned a couple of these guys, and the ones you didn't want to come back did come back. So it was Everson in goal, Mattock, Wood, Ihekwe, Thompson's the back 4, Adelakin, Barlasser, Crooks comes back in. Really nice finish. He scored twice, didn't he? Nice finish for the second goal. Bene, it's been good down the right wing, hasn't he? And Smith is joined by Vassell up front, who'd been scoring. So, Dave, it's a stronger team than the one that lost to Peterborough, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot stronger. I mean, Crooks is a beast in there. He's huge in the centre mid, and he basically dominated. I thought we dominated. Well, they dominated right throughout, but my God, we did not help ourselves at all. And with hindsight about Keane, Craig, I agree with you, but considering how well he played on Saturday, you had to go with him, really. I guess you had to go with him, but it was just a shocker. I mean, I think I posted after 10 minutes. I mean, both sides, until they had that nice, well, you might get onto this in a minute, till they had that nice free kick move, it was just dreadful with football. And there was no excuse for it. It was a lovely pitch. I don't think it was raining. I think it wasn't like at Oxford the other week. I mean, we played better football in the conditions at Oxford than anywhere near we played last night. It was absolutely appalling.
Why the bad start, Craig?
Well, I don't know. We seem to start off looking to waste a bit of time, and I just to sort of whether it's just like to take the sting out of the game, etc., etc. But they were honest, weren't they, from the very first? As Dave says, that Crooks he's a great player. He's a typical Mick McCarthy centre midfielder. He's 6'4". I looked up today, 6'4", but he's quick. He's got a pass on him, isn't he? He's light on his feet. Yeah. He looked a hell of a player. Him and that Barlassa, to be fair, he looked good.
Do you know what annoys me? Just little things, sloppy things. Both, you kick off both from when we conceded the goal, second half, or when we kicked off. Chambers hoists it out of play.
Straight out of play. Yeah.
It's just a little thing. It just annoys me. Absolutely annoys me. But a very small part of tiny part of the rest of the shit that went on last night, because it was bad.
It wasn't the first time. It wasn't the first time we hit balls straight out of play. Was it? Everybody was doing it.
Oh, everyone was doing
during
it.
The match.
It was embarrassing. I was watching it, and I don't usually bother. But I thought, no, Top Toe, watch it on iFollow. I watched it on iFollow last night. It was just embarrassingly poor. Really, really was.
When did the game kind of pep up, Dave? Because we've seen it before where teams drag each other down to each other's level.
They had a really nice free kick routine. It was really clever, wasn't it? Quite clever, because obviously they're a big side. As Craig's Christ, they've got a 6'4" monster sitting in centre mid. Let alone the back players Wood and Smith up front. So this really quite nice free kick routine, sort of midway in our half, and you think, oh yeah, it's just going to be clipped over to the back post for the big man, and they play a really nice disguised ball short hoop two. I forget who peels off. Is it Vassell? I can't remember who
it was. Vassell, wasn't it?
Was it who peels off? Brilliant, great first touch. And we just get away with it. Hits the underside of the bar. Hell of a strike from about 10 yards. We were just not asleep, but I thought it was quite all right. We didn't pick him up. I thought it was really quite a clever move, actually. So the game pepped up from there, and from then on, from my mind, they absolutely dominated us.
I just want to mention the Batistuta one into the Argentina one into Zanetti in '98. I was thinking, is this Zanetti or is this John Harkes this type free kick?
Why? Do you know what? Yeah, that kind of free kick where basically took everybody by surprise.
So,
yeah.
Craig, we get away with one there, and is this dominance from Rotherham, or are they just kind of on top?
Yeah, it's dominance, isn't it? They were all over us, weren't they? From the very first one, they were just in our faces, and we simply couldn't handle it. And when our back three had it, they had 3 or 4 attackers on us. They were charging down the centre halves, they were charging down the wing backs. They were all over Hughes and Downs in the middle. Yeah. They just stifled us. They just suffocated us. And
I know they said Brenner said on the commentary, I thought Downs did well. Downs was the one player I thought came out with any credit, because he did battle, and he did win some of his battles, to be fair. I thought he had considering the battering we were getting, I thought he did pretty well. But I mean, Wolfenden on Saturday looked an absolute world beater on Saturday. Okay, at home, perhaps different, not quite as physical opposition, but he was shaky as hell yesterday. But they all were. He wasn't the exception. Chambers aside did okay probably, but yeah, it was not good.
In the Paul Hurst chat, I was going to mention that my first sighting of Paul Hurst was in a playoff final, Shrewsbury versus Rotherham, where one Richard Wood scored 2-headed goals from set plays. So we all know about this, and he's been doing it for years. Craig, do you want to take us through this goal? All I can see before is a yellow for Crooks on 37, and then Wood is going to score on 42. Tell us about the goal.
Yeah, well, it's their corner, and obviously we're doing we're not man-to-man marking, are we? We're marking 4 blokes just stand on the edge of our 6-yard box, not marking anyone, and they've got a gaggle of people on the edge of the box, nominally being marked by people like Hughes and Keane. And the cross comes over from their left, and it's a free header. I don't know who had the free header.
Smith just gets out muscles. He sort of Hughes gets in a really weird position and doesn't challenge for it.
Yeah, he didn't challenge, did he? He just sort of bent
Sort of.
over, and Smith
Yeah.
used his back, didn't he, to
Yeah.
get over him?
Smith
and then
gets it.
there's no one marking. Is it Vassell standing in front of
Norris.
It's just a shambles, isn't it? It's just absolute shambles of a goal.
It looks bad for Norris, that goal, but having watched it again, I feel a bit for him because he is unsighted. He is unsighted by did you say Velassi? Who was standing Velassi in front of him? He is unsighted, but he doesn't. He sort of it's a weird one, isn't it? He's almost taken by surprise. The ball's almost there, bouncing in front of him, and he almost gives it like this, and just sort of like, I don't know, palms it up and sort of flaps it up in the air. And I mean, Wood is 3 yards out, can't miss, can he?
But this zonal marking means that we should. Yeah, it is. It's bloody awful. We're not marking the header, the initial header, and we're not marking the guy standing in front of the goalkeeper either. We're still stood all in the yard box.
It was a catalogue because we up until the corner, we had quite good possession. I think Garbutt, I think he'd just taken a free kick, a set play or something, in probably one of the most advanced positions we got all first half, wide right. And the ball gets, I'm sure it is, the ball gets played in, it gets sort of played out, and he sort of tries to do a clever pass back to Edwards and gets it all wrong, and they break really quickly, and that's what leads to the corner. But yeah, disappointing goal. And you think, Christ, we played crap, 42 minutes, let's get through to half time, 0-0 and start again. But yeah,
exactly what we spoke about, isn't it?
And deserved. No more than Rotherham
beforehand though, Dave. Not worried about playing through possession or whatever. Like Craig says, press, counter quickly, feed you guys wide, get the ball in the box. We knew what was coming, didn't we?
It was just, I know they were pressing us, but surely we're good enough to try and pass through. We didn't even try and pass through the press at all. And conditions were ideal, as we said. No reason not to. Beautiful pitch, great conditions. Just, I think physically, do you know what got me? I think we were, Joe said at one, and this is, I know, Lambert played up on this a few games ago, saying, I think we got a bad result. I forget who was against. He said, but we were brave with the ball. We never turned away and got the ball. Christ, Joe's right. We were not brave. We were just not brave with the ball. And I think we were physically intimidated by them last night. Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's go into the second half. Just tell me, guys, because what's kind of jumping out at me is Lambert goes fairly early with his change. Norwood and Nolan in for Keane and Hughes, 67 and 60. That's
okay.
It's
usually 75 plus. Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Craig, was the pattern the same before then? I know Rotherham are going to hit post again.
One disallowed. Yeah.
Well, the one that hit the post, that was their Adelakan, yeah. He came inside and absolutely larruped it, didn't he? And it hit the crossbar. He didn't even. It's not as if he made room for himself. He somehow hit it early, didn't he? And
like that, Ben. No backlift. Just absolutely thunder bastard from about 30 yards. A hell of a shot, wasn't it? It really was. Craig's right. He didn't even make an angle for it. He just knocked it and bang. A hell of a shot. Yeah.
Yeah, but then the pattern of play just carried on the same. We didn't get a foothold in the game until about the 80th minute, did we?
Yeah, so Sears comes in, Crooks has gone out for Wiles, who'd started the last game, and Ladapo, they're basically going to finish pretty much, give or take. They are going to finish with the team that played against Peterborough, aren't they? So what was the improvement down to, Dave, this last few minutes? Is it just all out, just going for it, or Sears comes in? Did Sears play in the 10 position then?
No, I don't know why. I don't know. We all said it last night. The match was crying out for Bishop. Honestly, was. Does someone who actually get his foot on the ball and actually drive at? Because again, someone else, Craig might have made this point last night. They did start. All the effort that the Rotherham put in and all the press, they did start to tire. I thought, which did give us a foothold in the game, probably from 75 onwards, which gave us a foothold in the game. But it just cried out for Bishop to come on, get hold of the ball and start driving at people. But I can believe it. I mean, I like Sears as much as you do, Ben. I really couldn't believe it when that was the final substitution. Sears came on and Bishop stayed on the bench. Really odd for me. Yeah. We looked better. You're dead right. We did look better when Norwood came on. That ball over the top is certainly not Keane's game. But when Norwood came on, we improved, and he looked quite fresh. And Christ, brilliant effort, right last knock into the game. Hell of an effort out of nowhere. Really.
Well, there's another chance there's another chance before that, Craig as well. Jackson, and we saw him score this virtual same goal against Shrewsbury earlier in the season, didn't we? Where he hooked around the ball and put it in the far corner.
Yeah, he side-footed it, didn't he? I watched it on the replay. For some reason, he didn't actually properly strike it. Yeah, he just side-footed it. So it's always going to be a tame old effort. And he didn't try and hit it across the goalkeeper, did he? Because Nolan was running in as well as he does at the far post. But just going back to what Dave was saying about Bishop, he's absolutely right. And in the first half, one of the very only times we got anywhere near their areas when Downs got the ball, didn't he? And he drove at them.
I should have had a shot.
Yeah, but he drove at them with the ball, didn't he? He carried the ball, and he's exactly what Bishop would do. And the guys I was watching it with, we all said the same thing. Well, if Judge barely had a touch, did he? He was. I know. Let's caveat it slightly in that he was dealing with high balls in the main, but my life, that was awful.
He's just so negative. He just did not look to go forward at all. He just got the ball, and his first instinct was, keep the ball square. But he just did not. He wasn't progressive at all with the ball.
Dave, why were our wing backs not able to carry the ball forward in the way you were describing? Were they just pegged back too much by the?
I think they were.
Players?
We just kept giving the ball away. We just kept lumping the ball, and it kept coming back. As Craig said, we just did not get any sort of foothold in the game at all. Yeah, we had a couple of chances at the end, but you wouldn't really call that a foothold at all. Good free kick from Garber. Probably should have had another one. There was a definite foul on Jackson after that initial Garber free kick, I think, before Norwood went close right at the end. That looked a really good shout for a free kick, and that was only about 25 yards out. You'd have fancied Garber then, but yeah, it was just horrible, honestly.
Goodness
me! Remember how many poor performances there were all over the pitch. As I say, there was just people just kicking the ball out of play, weren't they?
Oh, he's aimless. I think you could. I think Downs would come out. Downs did okay. I thought actually, do you know what? I thought the keeper had it. Aside from the goal, I think the keeper did quite well. He didn't flap at much. Did he? All right. It was quite an obvious.
How did
foul,
they play Smith, Dave?
Was he? I don't think he was an out-and-out striker. We've seen a bit withdrawn role almost.
Because he's been trouble the last couple of times we've played
slightly
him,
withdrawn, maybe further over to the right. I didn't really notice him as a focal point up front.
Was he really?
No, he wasn't. But Adelaikin and that Balassa were very good. Crooks
is he on loan? Balassa, is he on loan from somewhere? Is he Newcastle?
Newcastle, I think. Yeah. But time and time again, he'd get the ball and spray it out left.
One pass
to our right back. He's doing it time and time again.
They look. I mean, we were terrible last night. Don't get me wrong, but they look a side that's equipped to stay there. To me.
Yeah, but from what you've described and from what I saw last time, Dave,
one or two technical players,
solid, big, quite powerful. They've got the pattern of play, like you say, is. Switch of play, spread it wide, hit big guy, counter attack quickly. And
I don't know what Craig thinks. I think they look well equipped to stay up there, don't you?
Yeah, looked strong, didn't they?
Yeah,
and the same as the home game. They just looked fit. They just looked very, very fit.
We just looked. It was really odd. We just looked flat and just didn't fancy it. Just odd, really odd. Very disappointing.
Yeah. Should we go to some questions and get a bit more meat on the bone there? Jim says lots of people wanted us to stop having one good half and one bad and get some consistency. Shame we went for the two bad halves option. Dave, was it because we tried to match their physicality? Was that the issue?
We may have started out that. I thought that had been evident after about 5 minutes that we were never going to do that. Even Keane, who I thought was like in sort of, I think I said Sunday was in sort of beast mode on Saturday. He was just completely dominated, wasn't he? I'm sorry, Keane. Sorry, Hughes. Sorry, Keane. Hughes. Yeah.
This is Dom is asking, is it time for Holly to come back in?
I don't know. I don't think particularly. I say, as Dave said, I don't think Norris had a particularly poor game. He's under pressure a fair bit. They were slinging corners in, weren't they? Right under his.
Did quite well with them. His punching was good, and he caught
his handling was okay.
Yeah.
Dave, Tim asks, where are the leaders on the pitch? When I look through that team, I look at Chambers, Judge, and Hughes possibly as kind of leaders, but you've brought out Downs. Were there any leaders on the pitch?
I mean, Judge and Hughes had poor games, didn't they? Very poor games. I think Chambers, give him a perhaps slight pass. I think Chambers did okay, and Downs I thought was the best player. But did we lack a leader? I don't know. I don't know what he could have done. We were just terrible. We just kept giving the ball away, and just as Craig said, just lumping aimless balls, which bizarrely 50% of the time we're just going into touch. It was.
I just don't know. Was it a tactic of ours, or was it the fact that we just panicked, or no one knows, do they? I think Lambert's come out and said it wasn't a particular tactic. Well, we bloody well played it for 85 minutes.
I'd hope it was, because Christ, if it wasn't, what the hell was it? Know.
And if it wasn't, then there's no leaders on the pitch saying, "Well, hang on a second, lads, what the bloody are we playing at?"
Yeah, which is what you're getting at. Yeah.
Craig, David asks, is there another fan base in the country as up and down as us? I would say, yeah, all of them.
Every single one of them, I'd imagine, yeah.
God, they are. I think we're quite mild by comparison, probably more. Yeah.
Will says, Dave, can we get promoted without beating any of the current top 9 sides? Promoted. He doesn't say automatically, just says promoted. Although, surely by virtue of winning the playoffs, you need to beat 2 of the top.
At least 2 of them. Yeah.
Top 6.
Yeah, exactly. Surely we have to. Surely we have to. I'll tell you what I'd say. On last night's showing, we won't even get in the playoffs.
Oh dear. Craig, Lee asks, he asks about Holly. We've done that. He also asks, why always found out against, quote, big teams? Obviously, in the context, this is a big game. What is with this mentality and this not expecting to win in these games?
Oh, God knows. Is it a hangover from last year? You've still got a few players dotted around the team. I really don't know. It's not been a recent thing though, is it?
No, we never. These big games, we said before on the pod, these big games come up and everyone's up for it, and we just always disappoint for seasons.
Is that to do with your leaders on the pitch?
Well, there you go, possibly.
We'll continue. Yeah, Scott asks, Dave, will the continued problems against top sides in the league be our undoing at the season's end?
Yes, yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Tell you in a week and a half's time.
I'll tell you in 4 days' time. 2 more to go, isn't it? Justin says, wasn't it crying out for Bishop last night? I think you've covered that, haven't we? Dylan Craig says, Nolan came on and did nothing as usual. Take any money from Blackpool for him. Surely this is Dylan's opinions, not those of the pods. But is Nolan surplus to requirements now, Craig?
If you can guarantee that no one's going to get injured, particularly between now and the end of the season, then yeah, I think so. He came on, he did nothing, did he? And like Dave was saying about Judge looking for the backward pass, Nolan did exactly the same thing when he came on. Not once did he really look to go forward. There was a point in the second half, he was about 10 yards inside our half. He got the ball and his first instinct was to go backwards, and he couldn't see anyone. So he literally span around on himself to go backwards again. He wasn't even looking forward. I don't know what's happened to the guy. We went to Fleetwood, and he was good. He's probably man of the match in the Fleetwood match. But I don't know. He scored goals, didn't he, for Shrewsbury?
He's an odd one, isn't he? He's an enigma, isn't he? Because he looks the part. I think he looks the part. He's 2-footed. He does look the part, but
gets stuck in, doesn't he? When he needs to.
Just too safe, isn't he?
That's it.
Too safe.
Dave in a admiration for languid left-footed centre midfielder shock.
I wouldn't call him a languid left-footed centre mid though. He's not. No.
He's definitely a left-footed centre mid.
Well, I'd say left-footed. He's probably. I'd say he's predominantly right-footed, isn't he? But he. I
just know your fetish
Oh no,
for
you know my
players.
propensity for that, of course. Yeah.
You went for propensity. I went for fetish. There we go. Dave, this is Mullet says, when a team bullies you at home, what is the rationale for trying to play them at their own game in the away fixture and negate the advantages you have in terms of quality?
Very, very good point, isn't it? Yeah, very good point. Yeah.
He says arrogance, tactical ineptitude, or lack of identity. You can't say a bit of both because there's 3.
No, I'd say mostly the first 2.
Oh, interesting.
Certainly the second one.
Alistair Craig says, forgetting style of play, what was even more concerning was how totally inept we were at set plays. We seemed completely unprepared of how we would attack them, whilst we were completely managed at ours. Poor preparation, and I'll add that, are we just against probably the best set play team in the league as well?
Yeah, that's what it is, isn't it? Because I think Garbutt's a strange one. He seems to have one game on it and one game off it. Certainly in terms of his corners, they'll be absolute dynamite or they'll be dog shit. But as you say, crikey, we're not going to be beating their centre halves in the air. We didn't beat their centre halves when we were defending our own corners, let alone when we're trying to attack down their end of the pitch.
I feel quite smug about this question, Dave, because Chris Rand, who does the stats, he does the number crunching things, and they put all the kind of permutations for the end of the season based on your form, and the machine came out at the exact 79 points that we came out with just by going blah 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 79. So he says 79 points is a 90% chance of finishing in the top 2. Should we throw caution to the wind? It's rubbish, isn't it? 79 points. I know, even with the 2 missing games.
Should we throw caution?
Yeah.
Should we throw caution to the wind and go for it? I don't know. What I don't know what that means as far as we're concerned. What throw caution to the wind? What does that mean? What, just play?
I think it means committing your wing backs forward,
get Bishop in the team, get
rock and roll football
to bomb on,
total football,
rock and roll football.
I tell you, I think it was more like country and western last night, wasn't it? Not rock and roll. My God, wouldn't we love to see that? But we know that's not gonna. Happen. I don't think. Mr. Lambert's a bit too pragmatic for that, I think, at this stage.
Craig, Tractor Boy Pete says, lots of negativity around. Can you find a positive from last night's match? And you have to do this. You have to find a positive, Craig. We don't have to play Rotherham again this season.
Yeah, quite. Well, let's just hope that, the subsequent, how many teams have got left to play? What we played, 28? So, yeah.
28.
16.
Yeah. So that many teams haven't been watching Rotherham players twice this year, and therefore players by the same game. I don't think Peterborough will play us like that, although they won't set up to play.
It'll be a good game. They'll be quite open.
Very probably could.
Shall we go on to? We'll just do the Peterborough game because they've won again last night. Just quickly, we'll say thank you to all the people that ask all the lovely questions and really set the tone for kind of what the fan base outside of our little echo chamber of us podcasters think. It's really good to get that barometer. So thank you. And as I always say, if your question doesn't get read out, please always just send another one in. We'll get there eventually, I promise. But Peterborough then, Davis, a third win on the trot here. They beat Accrington away 2-0 last night. Let me just bring the team up. It's weird because I heard a bit on the Not the Top 20 podcast where they were going with the narrative that the season had started and it was all about Maddison, Tony and Isa, and now there's no Maddison and there's no Isa, and they've completely you've got Smodics
he scored again last night, didn't he? He scored a couple now.
Ahead of a diamond, so you've got Tony and Dembele up front. We tried this, didn't we? It's a back three with a kind of diamond advanced midfield player as well. They're in rather good form, and I don't really see the draw earlier in the season as much of a barometer for this one, because feels like a different team, and they've evolved since then. Dave, talk to me about the Peterborough game, and I'll just hark back to the question about us going for it from Chris. Is this a team you want to play open against?
No, it isn't. No, I mean, they score for fun. Well, they certainly did. Certainly when Maddison was scoring and assisting. At one point this season, albeit after about 10 games, his stats were like off the charts, weren't they? Absolutely ridiculous.
He's going to go to Charlton before Friday, is he?
Seemingly so, but he hasn't been playing, has he? I was
going to ask that actually. We may still end up playing against him, mightn't we?
We might well do.
If
Smodics keeps scoring, he'll certainly just be a sub, won't he? But Dave, this is a hard old game, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. Not the game. It's just a shame how the games turn. We got back to the top on Saturday. Oh, okay, you've got to play these teams, but I don't know. Shame we didn't have perhaps a home game against. Maybe even the home game against Peterborough, last night and the other way round. But going into that game on the back of last night, and you're right. It's a game we can't go gung ho. We've got to keep it tight Saturday. We can't go gung ho against them. And I don't particularly see a high scoring game, but
Dave, you've got 2 front twos, 2 number 10s, and two sets of wing backs. It could be open, or it could be.
I'd see it going the other way.
It?
Famous last words.
Yeah.
I'd perhaps see a narrow, perhaps one of those games where you think, yeah, this could be a 3-3 or something like that. But perhaps the odd goal in 3 or something wins it. But yeah, it's going to be tough. They've got pace. They're strong as well. Nice to get a win. Get a win, and you're still on for those. I know we said Sunday. I think Mick Mills referred to it on the football show Saturday that 3 draws in the next 3 games. Rotherham, Peterborough, Sunderland wouldn't be a bad take. Well, certainly after last night, it certainly wouldn't be. So yeah, it'd be nice to get 3 points out of the next 2, really. But yeah.
They just need to somehow just forget completely about last night, don't they? Fans, players, everyone just needs to draw a line through it. Don't even refer to it anymore and just pretend it never happened.
I think you're right, because it was such an outlier. It was so bad. It was so poor that you almost do think, yeah, okay, really bad day at the office. Let's move on. It was almost that. So as bad as that.
Craig, personnel-wise, we know Hughes might have got a little bump last night and has obviously played a lot of games. We heard about the lack of physicality. They've got one of your old favourites, Dave. There, Mark Beavers playing at the back there. Beavers. Craig, what are you doing personnel-wise? Do you think for this one? Because surely now it would be sort of 4 games unchanged, would it? If he did, and given the Hughes situation.
Yeah. Well, for Hughes, who would you bring in for Hughes?
Skews? Skews or no?
Yeah, I'm wondering whether he will bring in Skews just to sit on Schmodic.
That wouldn't surprise me.
I'd like to give Bishop a go. Whether he's fit enough to do 90 minutes or start a match, I don't know. But I just, when he has come on, he's looked, back to his jinking best, doesn't he?
Twinkle toes best, yeah.
Yeah. And Judge flatters to deceive. We all know he's a great player, but how many? And even in our recent run, how many games you thought, bloody hell, as an international footballer there playing League One football? He doesn't stand out enough for me. He doesn't do enough.
He probably did against Accrington at home, who were terrible. Let's face it, on the day they were awful. But yeah, he doesn't do enough for me.
But Dave, if Peterborough are a bit more progressive, maybe he gets more space against Peterborough than he does against Accrington.
True. Yeah. No, it'd be an intriguing one Saturday. Yeah, looking forward to it because I don't think it'd be dull.
Who's having the pod season ticket?
Who you said can have it?
Everyone probably. Lose myself some more money there. Certainly going to be an interesting one. But sadly, in this key run of 3 games, it's a defeat to start things off with. We hope we've dealt with that in a balanced way. We talked off air before, myself, Dave and Craig, and as always, there's no remit. The guys can say what they like. And it was just the feeling that it was a really poor performance. But I hope you heard Craig's words at the end there. Draw a line under it, forget it, move on. And I hope there's not a sense listening to back to this pod that we're being over the top, because compared to where things were, and hopefully it can flip back just as quickly on Saturday against Peterborough. Craig, where can we find you on their old Twitter?
I'm at Fims75.
And you'll be at the Peterborough game on Saturday?
Yeah, Peterborough going to Sunderland. I've got my golden ticket to Wimbledon, so I'm.
What's a golden ticket at Wimbledon then? What does that mean?
Like gold dust, don't they? Like hen's teeth.
Okay.
Like rocking horse.
I thought Wimbledon, like you had to. Oh, what am I talking? I thought you were talking about the bloody tennis.
Have you got tickets for Centre Court? Have you got tickets for Centre Court?
Yeah.
Your clients lawn tennis, didn't you, Dave?
Association.
Mate, well, they were only when I had a client who had someone working for him that had Wimbledon debenture tickets, and they are rare as well. And then they bloody made him redundant.
Oh, selfish.
How short-sighted is that?
Selfish.
So hence, no more Wimbledon tickets unless you go on the ballot, of course.
Isn't that sad that when you said Wimbledon, I didn't think of Vinnie Jones and Dennis Wise, Laurie Sanchez, Crazy Gang, John Fashanu. I thought of a posh tennis.
Colton Fairweather.
Oh, Goodness me. Lovely stuff. Dave,
Sorry
where can
about
we
it.
find you on the old Twitter?
At David Diamond 3.
And you can find me at Benjamin Bloom. I'm still doing some championship stuff. I had an existential Cole Skews moment last night. I was watching Nottingham Forest shithouse in Brentford.
Did they beat them, didn't
They
they?
beat them, right? So on the same pitch, I'm watching Saeed Benrahma and Ben Watson. Okay, right? Who do you think was the man of the match?
Ben Watson, by any chance?
Ben Watson. I kind of thought about Cole Skews. I thought he's just a very bespoke player, and he would have also been man of the match in that game, probably just sweeping stuff up.
Can I lob
the
a grenade in there though?
Go for it.
Don't think Cole Skews ever likely to score the winning goal in an FA Cup final.
That's true. Yeah, that's very, very true. But yeah, a little Cole Skews moment there. Well, I was.
Nice one. He's probably about the same age as well, isn't he? Must be.
Watson's old, isn't he? Like 36.
Yeah, I mean, maybe even older. Oh, he Skews is 34. Is he 5?
Yeah, 34 this year.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you're right.
Nice one, Ben. Are you back Saturday or not?
I'm not. I've got work on Friday night and then Sunday. So the New Year's resolution laws say that means no football this weekend for me.
Oh,
I've done a Saturday, Tuesday.
Saturday, Tuesday. I did see a really neat tweet from your other half of your dog watching football intensely, watching football.
Yeah, that was Premier League as well. That was Liverpool versus Man United. We got this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
but you're
all
just going to rib me for being middle class. We've got a projector now, so
I did see that.
You can watch football, Craig. It's like 4 meters wide. It's outstanding. But I was sold on this present. You can watch football. There's been a lot of reality TV played on that projector. Yeah. In fact, if we just hold the mic, you might even be able to hear some.
Is it Dion Dublin? Homes Under the Hammer.
Stairs up to the bedroom.
Yeah, stairs up to the bedroom. Yeah.
Outstanding. Right, who wants the last word?
Go on, Craig. I've had
enough. Should we sing my song again? Say we are third in the league. We are in the playoffs. Say. Then we start to shudder. That's the thing. As the playoffs get nearer, I just always remember that last season where there was no chance of us playing Bolton in the playoffs for the second season running, and then these results, and it was like this magnetism. Bolton. There you go.
Someone did a timeline or something, a sliding doors. Yeah. No, it wasn't. That wasn't which was brilliant, by the way. Rich is. We should plug that.
Plug it now, Dave.
Rich has done did his very first section of the season on the 99-2000 promotion season, and it's an excellent timeline of where we were in a particular season. I think I'm not sure how far he's got up to, but it's very good. But and I've lost my thread.
Over on the YouTube channel. You were talking about the sliding doors article in Turnstile Blues, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Yeah. Yes. Sorry,
which everybody should read because there's an appearance from David Diamond in there, which is.
And you too, and you also, your good self.
I don't need the glory like you, Dave. I don't celebrate my goals.
Sorry, that's what it was.
I'm like Lewis Graven.
That's what it was, and I never realised that. But if we hadn't conceded the third goal to Blackburn in that last game, I didn't realise how quite tight it was. On goal difference, we'd have ended up playing Middlesbrough in the semi-final of the playoffs 4 or 5 seasons ago, rather than Norwich. Yeah. And so it was how that may have turned out. But anyway, who knows?
Who is it at the moment? Who's sixth at the moment? If
Portsmouth.
Oh, that's a Brett
Pompey.
Pittman last minute goal, isn't it? Waiting to happen.
Yeah, Pompey with a couple of nice 2 games in hand there.
Oh, so they'll be fifth anyway, probably by the time we.
That's assuming we'll be third, Ben.
Yeah, never assume.
It's not gonna
as Samuel L. Jackson says, because you make an ass out of you and me. There we go. And on that wonderful note, say goodbye, Craig.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, David.
Bye.
We are third in the league. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Lovely stuff, guys.